Okay, so there's actually a problem I have. I don't know how to solve it actually. When I create a wall from the top of footing and I test it in another drawing, it works. The depth here is set and constrained, and I cannot change it to height for whatever reason. So I'm just going to follow the steps that were mentioned here. Just to clarify this last one, I'm going to select it by pressing tab there and deleting it, and do it again, following these instructions right here better, the above one. So we're in level 1, drawing a 12-inch concrete, but in this case we want actually a new type, as we did in the previous recording, of 17-inch concrete. So what we're going to do is do a structure wall, 12-inch. We're going to edit the type. We're going to duplicate, call that 17-inch, okay, and change in the edit mode this to what is mentioned, to 17 here. Wait, there you go. Okay, so you come here and you put 17 inches, and you say okay, okay, and now this type is 17, and you can do a rectangle. In this case, what we need to do is top of footing, finished face exterior, offset minus 1/4 of an inch. Okay, and from face of brick. So basically we do the rectangle from this face of the brick. Now we're not going to see it because it's in the lower level. No, we escape that, 3D. Now that little offset that I just signaled, it's that little detail right there. It's just a small offset, okay? See it right there? Very small. C8, zoom extend. Okay, next. So again, this is the the signal it's going to say is be careful with you're not seeing it as you create it, but just don't worry about that. You are creating a different view, so it shouldn't be a big problem. You can change the visibility settings by going to the view range and setting it from the first view. If you go to the first view, you can go to the visibility settings, view range. View range, what it does is you can change, as I mentioned in another class, the way that the building is cut. You can set that it's cut in different heights, as you by standard means. It's set to 4 feet. You want it in a different dimension. That would be an option as well. No? So we're going to set it to top of footing here and say apply. What that is doing is just allowing us to see underneath a bit of the foundation from the first level. Okay, good. So visibility and settings, underlay nodes. You can set underlays. We explained that a couple times already. Allows you to see any other level below the current level. This is useful when you're trying to align vertical elements. Visibility nodes, it's common to need visibility. Sometimes you need to see other plans or other views simultaneously from the view that you are. Okay. Add foundation wall footing. This is more of a 3D. Basically, we're going to select the foundation walls that we just created, and we're going to incorporate what is called a footing, a wall footing. No? So for that, I'm going to go to the 3D. Now here you have to do a little bit of actually these are problematic. Let me tap those and see what the constraint is. Level base constraint is set to -20. Somebody has changed the settings here, and it's driving me. Let me see. top of the base constraint. This is top constraint, base constraint. For some reason, this base constraint is this is totally wrong, no? Let me do it again. I don't understand this. Delete level 1 structural wall, rectangle, depth to footing, finished face exterior minus 1/4 of an inch. No offsets. We step there. And here 3D, it now is correct. I don't know what I did before. I think there was an offset set. So obviously this guy should be in the same height at this point. So okay, we need to do the footings. For that we only need the bottom ones. You can select from the 3D view in multiple ways. You can use the box for that, like going to the front view. This is not an elevation, this is a 3D view from the front. And you can select these ones and height, for example, like using the hide elements option here. Turns blue, meaning you can change it afterwards. And there you have your elements. Now I'm going to select these and also filter out the lines. I'm going to turn off those as well. So when I select, I make sure that I only have walls here. So I select those, and now we need to do wall footing. No? So we go to structure. Here we have wall footings. We have to select multiple. We select and finish. Now before that, let's make sure that we're doing the correct one. We're doing wall foundations 36 by 12. So we are in the correct one. Okay, we say finish, and automatically you get your footings. Okay, now we can reset this if we want and see that, the whole thing. Good. Next, let's add structural columns at grid intersections. So we're going to create a new column, or we're going to load. A column is also a family, so we can load columns and load size of columns that we need to load. So we do a structural column, square, edit type, duplicate, so we get a 20 by 20. No? So for that, I'm going to go also to level 1. I'm going to go to column, and I need to load a family of rectangle columns. For that, all the structural elements are under structure. We go to columns, concrete, and square columns. Okay, you say open, and that's going to give you as many options over here of rectangle columns. None of them is 20 by 20, so we have to duplicate a type. So I'm going to select the 24, edit type, duplicate, 20 by 20. And now B is basically the only dimension that in a rectangle we can get. So it's going to say 0, 20 there, and say OK. And there it is. Now in order to select a position of a column, you can go one by one, as I am doing right now, and selecting a grid meeting point, or you can place it wherever you want. Before that, we need to do a couple things. Make sure that the column is created from the place we want to the place we want, because basically a column is like a wall. We have to actually make sure that the top and the base constraint are properly given. No? So we're going to say from the level 1 depth to top of footing, so that's correct. Now we also want to locate it in all grid elements, so you can say add grids, save a project, select grids, and you get, by saying finish, a column 20 by 20 concrete in every intersection of the grid. So if I go to the 3D, I'm going to go to the front here, I'm going to hide these guys, hide elements, and this is what I did. In every intersection of a grid, I place the column. I'm going to delete these ones because I know they don't go there, and very fast I'm going to create a couple of foundation walls here because we're going to start getting a meeting point of a space meeting point between the entry lobby and the lab. So I'm going to go again to level 1, and I'm going to create structural walls as I did before, depth, top of footing, finished face, and what I'm going to do is just center, core center line, no, finished face exterior, and draw it from here to there, got it, and from here to here. Okay, so again, if I go to the 3D, I can incorporate these elements anytime I want. I can go to the wall slabs, select multiple, and select these two to incorporate our 3612 and say finish. So I didn't select that one. There you go. And they start matching each other. See, this one, for example, it's not meeting exactly the height, I think. So let me see what's going on here. Oh, that's good. Go to level 1. It's actually that little distance that we can just drag it in so it incorporates itself to the exact green line. No? There you go. There you go, 3D. Now it's perfectly matching. Good. So that's not in the steps, so I recommend doing that step through, following more of the YouTube elements there. In this case, there are also many other columns because there were many other grid lines. We don't have this grid center line, and we don't need it actually, so I just prevent it from happening. We don't need to clean in that sense because we have the correct number of columns in the grid. So next is isolated footings. As we said in the little lecture, you also have isolated footings underneath each of the columns. So I'm going to create isolated footings, and I'm going to create them no structural foundation families loaded. So we have to load. So if I go again here, level 1, I say isolated under structure. The first thing is going to tell me, hey, you haven't uploaded any family, so let's say yes. And we make sure that we go to structural foundations and footing rectangular. We say open. That means that we get a nice couple selections of footing rectangle elements, and we just need to get a 48 by 48 by 18 with depth and height. So let's see if we have those. We don't, so we have to create. Let's select one of them, edit the type, duplicate, 48 by 48, and 18, I think it was. Yes. So you say OK. It's renamed there. See 48. 48 and 18 is correct. You say OK. And what we're going to do is, again, select the column. So we can go to the 3D and add columns. You have the add grids. I'm going to say add columns. You select columns. And here's the problem. I'm going to Control C that because you also have to set the height of those elements. So I'm going to say cancel. I'm going to say isolated again. We make sure it's 40, 48, 48, 12, but we also want the level to be obviously top of parapet. Okay. And now you select columns, select not parapet, footing, obviously. But columns, I missed one there. Finish. Okay, columns, finish. Okay, so I'm gonna stop that.